Hello and welcome to my Wilderness Slayer guide. This is the contents page for this video. You can find everything that we're going to talk about listed here in this contents page. Alternatively, you can find links in the timestamps of the description down below in order to get you to the part that you need to watch. So what is Wilderness Slayer? Players can get a Slayer task from Mandrith in Edgeville, who assigns tasks that must be completed within the wilderness. After smoking kills, players will receive 20 points per task, with 100 points every 10 tasks, and 300 Slayer points every 50th task. Completing your first task from Mandrith will reward the player with a bounty emblem. Taking the bounty emblem with you for wilderness tasks rewards the player with 100 potential per task. Potential upgrades the emblem from tier 1 up to tier 10. These emblems can be consumed for Slayer bounty points, which can be used to purchase some great rewards from Mandrith. It's worth knowing that Slayer tasks can only be received from Mandrith if the player doesn't currently have a Slayer task active from another Slayer master. It's also worth noting that kills outside of the wilderness will not count towards your Wilderness Slayer task. If the emblem is not taken with the player for the duration of their task, they will not gain potential for completing that task. And if a player dies either from PvM or PvP with the emblem on them, they will lose one tier from that emblem. So if you were to die with a tier 9 emblem, it would be downgraded to a tier 8 emblem, which is the equivalent of losing up to 23 Slayer tasks worth of potential. So this can be quite devastating at higher tiers. In total, assuming no deaths, a player must complete 113 Wilderness Slayer tasks to get a tier 10 emblem from tier 1, or 112 tasks if they purchase an emblem from Mandrith using their Slayer bounty points before starting Wilderness Slayer. So why should you do Wilderness Slayer? Well, the main reason people are going to be doing Wilderness Slayer is for the tier 87 two-handed melee, ranged and magic weapons, the Annihilation, the Decimation and the Obliteration. Now, these weapons are around 60 to 80 mil on the Grand Exchange as of the time of recording this video, and as well, they're really good options for Iron Men who are trying to bridge the gap between tier 80 and tier 90 but are struggling to get things like Notchus weapons. A tier 9 bounty emblem can be consumed for 15,000 points, which is half of the cost of one of these weapons. However, it is more recommended to get yourself up to a tier 10 bounty emblem, which you can consume for 40,000, meaning you can afford a weapon and have 10,000 points left over. Killing Slayer monsters in the wilderness offers the player a chance to roll the Wilderness Shared Loot table. This table has some notable drops such as Ancient Warriors equipment patches, a variety of Brawling Gloves, and Revenant drop enhancers which increase the drop rate of rare drops from Revenants. The requirements to take part in Wilderness Slayer are 85 Slayer and 120 total combat level. There are some recommended items to bring along with you on your tasks. I would strongly recommend using a Ring of Wealth on all tasks. The Ring of Wealth allows you to teleport out of the wilderness up to Wilderness level 30, which is 10 levels more than other teleportation methods. This is the best teleportation method to use above level 20 Wilderness. Alongside this, I would recommend bringing along a one-click teleport tab and binding it to an easy-to-hit key on your ability bar. This should be your main method of teleportation out of the wilderness quickly under level 20 Wilderness. Next up is the Pharynthry Bracelet, which should be used when fighting Revenants in order to stop them from automatically attacking you for an hour at a time. Finally, I would recommend bringing along either Phoenix Necklaces or Portents of Restoration in order to automatically heal yourself in the situation where you are being attacked by someone in the wilderness. These shouldn't be used for general healing against monsters, but should be used as something to automatically heal you whilst you are trying to escape a PvP player. Another notable item is the Wilderness Sword 3, which allows the player to choose the location of obelisk teleports. Now, I'm not going to recommend this for all tasks, as in this guide I'm going to be recommending that you don't take on tasks that require the use of the obelisks in higher level wilderness. However, if you do want to take on some Slayer tasks which are in higher level wilderness, I would definitely recommend getting hold of the Wilderness Sword 3 by completing the Wilderness Hard Achievement Diary tasks. Alongside items to take on tasks, here are a few other recommendations. Slayer VIP tickets provide you with the ability to choose between two different tasks when getting a new Slayer task. They can be obtained through many different methods, primarily through the Cabbage Face Punch Bonanza minigame, Menophyte gift offerings and the Travelling Merchant. Being able to choose between two tasks increases your chance of getting a safer and easier task, and reduces the amount of Slayer points you will need to use to cancel tasks. On that note, a reserve of Slayer points is recommended so that you don't get stuck with a lengthy, risky task such as Ice Strike Worms. The Slayer Introspection Relic is hugely advantageous, however, it does require level 119 Archaeology. This relic allows you to choose between the default amount of monsters you are going to be assigned, the highest amount that you could be assigned, and the lowest amount you could be assigned. In most cases, choosing the lowest amount is preferable in order to blitz through tasks as quickly as possible. Whenever doing Wilderness Slayer, you should look for low-populated worlds. If you want to be extra safe, I'd recommend changing the language of your client in order to join different language servers with much less population. The only downside is dealing with the entire game in a different language. I'd recommend always having Surge on an ability bar, whether you are using magic or not, as it can come in useful when trying to evade PKers. As mentioned earlier, having a one-click teleport tab on your bar is also recommended so that you can quickly teleport before being teleblocked. Finally, you should absolutely not AFK any tasks when doing Wilderness Slayer with your bounty emblem. Even if you feel safe, all it takes is for one person to come over while you're destroying your already woeful Call of Duty kill-death ratio, and you can suffer massive setbacks. To get started, just go to Edgeville and ask Mandrith for a Slayer task, but make sure you don't currently have a Slayer task assigned. So here are the task rankings. I've broken down the tasks into 3 different categories: red, orange and green. Red tasks should be avoided at all costs, orange tasks are optional, and green tasks are definite tasks to complete. This is the location of those tasks in the wilderness, with the exception of black demons, which can be found in the wilderness section of the Edgeville dungeon. So, red tasks should be avoided at all costs. They all take place in above level 30 wilderness, and for that reason alone, they are significantly riskier than other tasks. The Strikeworm tasks are particularly long, as well as Calgarian demons, setting them as a solid no, and while Blue Dragons and Fire Giant tasks aren't particularly long, they still pose great risk due to how far in the wilderness they are. Orange tasks are really subject to your situation. If using VIP tickets, orange tasks should always be picked over red tasks, but if they're presented alongside green tasks, then green tasks should be taken. All of these monsters are located below level 30 wilderness, however they are quite long tasks, ranging from 90 to 150 monsters to defeat per task. The longer spent in the wilderness, the more chance of being PK'd, and so for this reason they are better to be avoided. Despite that, they are still in levels of wilderness that can be teleported from using the Ring of Wealth. Black demons are located in the Edgeville dungeon, which is fairly easy to escape from, and the gargoyles and water fiends are quite well out of the way of typical PK spots. Also, abyssal demons and gargoyles provide some good money from drops and may be worth going for. Basically, this tier of tasks is up to you, however if you do go for them, make sure you're in a low population world. Green tasks should be taken over all others, and rarely if ever skipped. There are only 3 of the possible 13 tasks in this tier, and that is because they are all quick and relatively safe tasks. Green dragons are very easy to kill, and since Mandrith assigns between 30 to 60 of them, this makes for very quick tasks. Hellhounds can be found in the Farinthri dungeon below level 30 wilderness, and while the Farinthri dungeon can be popular spots for PKers, this task can be easily completed in 5 minutes or less with just a tier 70 weapon with 99 in your melee stats. Finally, Revenants have actually made an appearance here, however it should be noted that I would recommend killing only the lower level Revenants in order to make this task as quick as possible. Remember, you're not here to farm out drops from Revenants, the goal is to get potential on your emblem and get out. And because Mandrith only assigns between 30 to 60 Revenants per task, this is another very quick task to take on. It goes without saying that you should only go into the wilderness with items you are prepared to lose. Even if an item is one of your 3 protected items when not skulled, there are always horror stories of people being skull tricked, and for this reason I take very basic, inexpensive gear with me on Slayer tasks in the wilderness. Also, if you follow the tier system I just detailed, you should have no issues fighting against any of these monsters with tier 70 gear. One quick note is that a Sun Spear is a great option to take into the wilderness, as it is a tier 78 weapon and can be used in all 3 combat styles, and only costs 600k if you lose it. The one downside to this weapon is that it requires the completion of the River of Blood quest. For all combat styles, I would at first recommend either full Ghost Hunter or full War Priest, provided you're prepared to potentially lose it, and alongside this an Amulet of Glory, Ring of Wealth, Skill Cape and Sun Spear. However, if this isn't an option, you can follow the following for each combat style, maintaining a Skill Cape, Amulet of Glory and Ring of Wealth for the Cape, Amulet and Ring slots respectively. So for melee, I would recommend taking either full Necronium, Bane or Elder Rune with as much addition as you are comfortable spending on. For a weapon, I like to use a tier 70 Crystal Halberd, which comes in useful when taking on Hellhounds and Abyssal Demons, as it allows me to hit more monsters with attacks. For magic, I would recommend either full Mystic or full Ganodermic. Mystic is much cheaper, however it is only tier 50 armor. Ganodermic is tier 75 armor and at the time of this video currently costs 2.3 million for the full set. And as for the weapon, I would recommend a tier 70 Crystal Staff. With ranged, I would recommend full Royal D'hide with spiky Vambraces, and either a Crystal Bow or Black Salamander with Haralander Tar for ammo for your weapon. Again, this is all recommended due to low cost, and you can supplement higher cost items in where you see fit and where you are willing to spend more. Now we're on to the inventory setup. Here is an example of a typical inventory I use when completing Wilderness Slayer tasks. First of all, I always make sure to have my emblem with me, and a one-click teleport next to it which I make sure to bind to my ability bar. I also take an enhanced Excalibur with me for free healing to save food, and then take some combat stat boosting potions, prayer potions and some food. If I'm using magic, I of course will take my runes with me for casting, and if I'm completing a task such as gargoyles, I'll take some alch runes with me too. Most of the time I don't take Portents of Restoration or Phoenix Necklaces, however if I am doing a task in the Frinthry dungeon or higher in the wilderness, I will take them with me too. I also take a mint cake and 2 numbing roots with me. These are 2 items which I've actually never needed, however they may come in useful. So numbing roots can be consumed to remove damage over time effects from attacks, including attacks from other players. If you're running away from someone and they use Fragmentation Shot, the damage that ability does will double if you are running. Consuming a numbing root to cancel this effect will stop you from taking a large amount of damage. The other item is mint cakes. Mint cakes restore your run energy to 100% regardless of what it's currently at, and these can be substituted if you like with super energy potions. In lower levels of the wilderness, energy drain won't be a huge problem, however if you have a lower agility level you may benefit from mint cakes and super energy potions in order to keep your energy up. There's nothing worse than running out of run energy while evading a PKer. Finally, how long is completing a tier 10 emblem going to take? With these calculations, I like to take a more realistic approach. Some people are going to tell you that it'll take 9 hours because some tasks take 5 minutes to complete, and 5 times 113 divided by 60 equals 9.4 hours. However, not every task is going to be a green task which takes 5 minutes unless you have a lot of Slayer points behind you. Depending on the tasks you get, the gear and stats you have, and assuming you suffer no setbacks from PKers, progressing from a tier 1 emblem to a tier 10 emblem will take around 12 to 18 hours. As for the money you can make per hour, or from a whole tier 10 grind, it really isn't easy to calculate. On my Iron Man, getting a Decimation saw me receive 5 Ancient Warrior equipment patches worth a total of 55 mil, 4 Wilderness Hilts, 2 Corrupt Dragon Spears and a Corrupt Dragon Dagger totaling 500k, 13 Feminic equipment patches totaling 260k, however I actually received hundreds of these which I didn't pick up because there were so many of them being dropped, 97 Adrenaline Crystals worth 900k, 33 Bloodweed Seeds worth 2.5 million, and of course the Decimation Bow which is worth at the moment 77 million. Totaling 140 million from just these drops. Unfortunately, I didn't think to keep track of the drops from each Slayer task, however getting to tier 10 took me about 14 hours, meaning I was earning about 10 mil an hour just off these drops. I mentioned this is on my Iron Man account because I did this on one of my alt accounts, and I only actually got 2 Ancient Warrior patches from the same number of tasks, reducing my total earnings comparably by 33 million. I've also heard of people getting over 10 of these in the 113 tasks, while others have actually gone the entire tier 10 emblem without getting any. So there we go, that's the end of this guide. If you feel I've missed anything or have any further tips that may help people, please drop them in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.